In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness there is no God but God, and Prophet Muhammad is his slave and messenger, and I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. The Mahdi is going to live by his heart. That's where he is close to Allah. That's where the beauty lies. That's where the love lies, is in our hearts. The Mahdi, the system of the Mahdi is the Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And the Mahdi lives and understands the Quran from his heart. He understands the Sunnah from his heart. He understands his life from his heart. He understands the Creator from his heart. He understands right and wrong from his heart. He understands what Allah makes lawful and what Allah makes unlawful from his heart. The Mahdi lives and breathes in his heart. That's where the power of the Mahdi lies. That's where the Mahdi inspires all of creation in his heart to be closer to the unique Creator of all that exists in his heart. That the heart understands things from a multi-dimensional level. The mind understands things from a linear level, from a focal point level. The mind can be symbolically like a computer, the processor in a computer. That the processor can only focus on one thing at a time and is limited. And if you look at the RAM, which holds all the memory of the computer, has a vast wealth of information within the RAM. But the processor can only pick one thing at a time within that RAM. So it's very limited. It only sees things from a focal point, from one viewpoint. And that's how the human mind is like. It can only see one thing at a time. It can only process one thing at a time, and it's very limited. And when we stay in our minds, we can be deceived by the shaitan. The mind can think of lack. The mind thinks that it doesn't have enough to support, doesn't have enough to give in charity. It thinks of itself, and it can be easily tricked by the shaitans. But in our hearts, there's a deep wisdom. There's a deep understanding. There's a wealth of knowledge in our hearts. There is a huge abundance of love and passion for the Creator in our hearts. And the Mahdi is guiding humanity through his heart, through his love for the unique Creator of all that exists. That the Mahdi doesn't stay in his mind so much, but just uses the mind as what it was used for, is to direct our focus. And once we have that focus, we go back into the heart. The Mahdi doesn't stay in his mind so much, that the mind has its purpose of focusing, but the deep understanding, the deep knowledge is within the heart. The deep love and the peace and harmony is within the heart. That Allah guides us through our heart. The Mahdi loves the Creator from a deep level and inspires all of creation through his deep love of the unique Creator of all that exists within his heart. And people will be attracted by his love and passion for the Creator of all that exists and want to live in their hearts as well. Because generally people want to do the right thing. People need to be guided, need to be shown as an example, and this is the one of the reasons why the Mahdi exists, is to be a shining example for all of creation to experience living through the heart, and only using the mind for what it was designed for is to focus our consciousness. But the deep consciousness, the deep vast of knowledge is within our heart center. And when I mention the heart, I don't mean the actual physical organ of the heart, but the actual heart center, the energy center of our heart, where it shines and glows of love. And to increase that glow and love and passion and closeness to the Creator is to do the lawful things that Allah prescribes and staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids, and doing extra good deeds that are pleasing to the unique creator of all that exists, that this will increase the passion and love and deep understanding in our hearts and bring us closer to the unique creator of all that exists. That the unique creator of all exists designed all of creation, designed all the animals and insects and plant life and other species of creation that we don't know about, and designed human beings. And Allah knows what's best for the human being, and gave us a beautiful guidebook in the Torah, the Gospels, and the most revised revelation is the Quran. And the Quran is the perfected revelation and has the best tools to purify our hearts. And the Mahdi lives in his heart, that the Mahdi has a deep love for the unique creator of all that exists, that the Mahdi doesn't listen to his mind. The mind can worry about lack, the mind can be in fear, the mind can only understands what's in front of it. But the heart understands things from a multidimensional level, understands things from the soul level, from the creational, unique creator of all exists level, that from a deep, deep understanding that huge amounts of love and understanding and knowledge can be withstood in the heart center. That we need to stay more out of our minds, more out of our intellect, and more into wisdom, more into deeper knowledge within our hearts. And that's what the Mahdi is guiding humanity to live in our hearts, to be closer to the unique creator of all that exists, to be more passionate and caring to each other, to end the wars, end the violence. The Mahdi doesn't want to see a drop of blood in the world, doesn't want to see the bombs being dropped, doesn't want to see people talking bad about each other, doesn't want to see people hurting each other. The Mahdi wants to see love, compassion, harmony, balance, abundance for all, charity, helping the people that are downtrodden, helping the people that are down and out, helping the poor, helping people have decent homes and places of worship. These are things that the Mahdi cherishes, that the Mahdi wants to see in the world, that the Mahdi strives for. And he does this through his heart. He feels a deep love in his heart for the unique creator of all that exists, and a deep love for all of Allah's creations, that the Mahdi cares for all of us, that the Mahdi wants the best for all of Allah's creations. And through the heart is the key. There's a deep understanding in the heart. What the heart understands, the mind cannot. The heart can give in charity and not worry about what it's going to get back. The mind can worry about those things. The heart wants to give. The heart feels overflowing like a waterfall that just keeps pouring and pouring water, that the heart just has so much love inside, and especially when you keep it pure and clean by doing the lawful things and staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids. And those are the simple keys to keeping our hearts pure and closer to our Creator, the unique creator of all that exists, and using the examples of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and his beautiful way of living and his beautiful way of charity and helping others. That all these things are just keys to live in our hearts and to live a beautiful life. And it's something different. It's something that humankind hasn't really been taught, hasn't been really learned in schools and in religious circles, that we haven't been taught how to live in our hearts. And we haven't, been taught by our parents how to live in our hearts. But the Mahdi has come to teach all of mankind as the universal spiritual leader of the world, to live in our hearts, to listen to our hearts, to trust what Allah puts in our hearts, that it has such a deep level of understanding, such deep wisdom in our hearts, that the mind just does not comprehend. That, why we fall in love with our wives or husbands, it's in our heart. The mind doesn't understand it, but the heart does. So we need to use our mind. What the Mahdi guides us to use our mind for what it was designed for, to focus our consciousness, and then to live and be in our hearts, to listen to our hearts. Once we have that focus, we live in our hearts. We connect to other creations of Allah through our hearts. That we live by our hearts, and to understand through our hearts, to speak through our hearts, to know each other through our hearts. The mind can't understand very much. Its intellect can only grasp so much, just like the processor in a computer can only grasp so much at one time. But the RAM that holds all the memory has the vast amounts of knowledge, and the heart center is like the RAM, and then the mind is like the processor. That the heart has all the deep wisdom and knowledge within it, and has a vast amount of understanding and knowledge, where the mind is like the processor, that it just uses a focal point and can only grasp certain small tidbits of information. So living in our hearts, living the authentic way as a human being, is through our hearts, and this is what the Mahdi is guiding all of mankind, and I believe all of creation, in the many worlds and in the universes, that the Mahdi is guiding all of Allah's creation in this time, in this period, to be closer to the unique creator of all that exists, to live in our hearts, to be closer to the unique creator of all that exists, to be grateful for all what Allah provides for us, and to be thankful and to be grateful for all of Allah's unique creation, that Allah creates us all differently, and this is to show the magnificence of Allah, to show the splendor of Allah, to show how great Allah is and how He can create such a diverse way of creation, that can create so many different types of human beings and plant life, and different characters and personalities, but we all are connected within our hearts, that we all can feel Allah, the unique creator of all that exists, in our hearts, that Allah can shine a beautiful light in our hearts, and we can all connect in our hearts. So may Allah bring us closer together. May Allah unite us. May Allah increase the love and iman and light in our hearts. May we be inspired to live in our hearts, to be closer to each other through our hearts and live through our hearts, and to be closer to our wives and husbands and family members and friends and family and people we don't even know through our hearts, that we haven't met yet, but in our hearts we can have a deep understanding, even somebody we never met before, that there's so much wisdom within our hearts, that we can know someone without knowing them through the deep wisdom that Allah puts in our hearts. And that's just a little example how important it is to live in our hearts, to stay out of our minds, but just to use the mind as it was designed to do, as to direct our consciousness, and to live in our hearts in an authentic way of being a human being by living the laws that Allah prescribes for us, staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids, and to worship our Creator, to remember Allah, the unique creator of all that exists, to be thankful and grateful for all the blessings that Allah provides for us. And may Allah guide us and bless us and increase our light in our hearts. And may we enjoy our lives and live in paradise in this world and in high rank in paradise in the next world. Thank you.